Let's see if I'm on. Let's see if everything's working. Okay. So, make sure. There's so much to cover, so much breaking news, and so much that needs to be clarified. Okay, so where do I want to begin? From the beginning, 1,541 days since Richard, active duty, U.S. soldier, young, young volunteer, son of this republic, was sent to Fort Bliss and saw something, said something, reported something, documented something. And, and he really did document because, he wanted to be a CID agent. He was criminal. Therefore, the narrative that they put out to the public that he was a troubled teenager, troubled young man, is absolutely false. He was a distinguished honor graduate for basic training. He saw something, he said something. After documenting it, he reported it. And he was in communications with the IG, he was in communications with CID, getting some. Yes, CID and he was in communications with FBI Houston and also with 911. He communicated with 911. So he absolutely saw something and said something, reported, and it's been corroborated. So over and over again through 4 years. And remember that we were made the investigators for our son's case. We we couldn't believe it. It was such a betrayal. Um, the American taxpayers, including us, and especially when you are a patriot and you fight to have a strong government, right? A strong country. I should say that a strong country, an ethical country, a free country, a country where your constitutional rights are honored. And when something like this happens and you know it's stinky and the military throws you out and you're saying, wait a minute, this is my young son who volunteered. Volunteered. Where's the esprit de corps? Right? Um, where are the answers? And they say, no, we can't help you. Go away. And so you are, you know, you have to gather. For one, you're in your grief, you're very vulnerable. And then you have to gather yourself and say, okay, what can we do? And we called and called and called. Nobody could help. As Richard was nobody's jurisdiction, right? So they say. And that's all questionable. Um, but because of what we know now, but nobody wanted to help. My dad went to Norfolk NCIS and he called us and he said, "Look, this is who I am. Your father just came into my office and left. This is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. How can I help you? I don't know what I can do, but you know, I can try." And I just cried because it was first person that said, "How can I help?" Right? And what we decided to do was get on social media and not understanding what was happening in the military at the time with Vanessa Guillen, um, but having benefits of the turmoil that was at the time. Our daughter's Instagram post about Richard received like 40 to 50,000 shares. And all of a sudden, we were getting a call from the CID in El Paso on Fort Bliss saying, well, we've thought about it, and we're going to bring Richard back on the rolls, and maybe we should investigate this." So, what does that tell you? That tells you that um, they're trying to control the narrative on everything. That control of narrative, control of what the public knows, control of what the public thinks is number one importance to them. And so that's why these live streams are so important, because we're right. We are giving you the truth when it comes to our son's case. And we were saying that it was stinky, and we were saying that Nadal Baim is up to no good. I mean, we gave him all the benefits of the doubt. And we said from the beginning, no, 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 he's somebody. He is somebody. And he is somebody. He's a Palestinian that has a very interesting education, that is up to no good in El Paso, and absolutely is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford of the G3, the 32nd ADCOM, and a bidder for not just a few little rounds of ammunition, but up to $3 million a pop of ammunition. Let's do a contract for up to $3 million to the El Paso Police Department of ammunition. And it goes on from there. His business, his business partners, and of course the car business, and not just any kind of car business, a car business that handles Mercedes. And of course, we know how important that is when it comes to Richard, and that connection when it comes to the Mercedes. So this is really been an investigation of a cover-up, of a code-red, premeditated murder. Not only that, the retaliation against a whistleblower for reporting the criminal trafficking and its connections to Fort Bliss, to the military, and also what he knew about the Walmart mass shooting and its connection to Fort Bliss, the military, and the retaliation. And we know by watching the videos of Glennon Oakley Jr., which corroborate that operatives, I guess that would be the right word, operatives are sent to bully, to harass, to intimidate, and also to make you so afraid. You have to look at the whole history of what happened to Glennon Oakley Jr., and you absolutely understand what they tried to do, because they weaponize the very tools that we entrust to them to create and esprit de corps fighting force, disciplined fighting force, but they don't use the tools for that. They use the tools to retaliate against those that will whistleblow on their criminal activities. And you saw that very clear in the videos of Glennon Oakley Jr. And so I think I think it's clear that they were doing that with Richard. They were using the tools. Well, we know, we've proven. They've tried to sanitize Richard's file, but we have it all. But they tried to sanitize it um, to take out the retaliatory actions against him. Why would they want to do that, right? When they are putting forth this false narrative about him, and then they clean it up, and then they promote him twice, and then they say, oh, no, um, why did they report it? Why did they promote him twice after he was murdered? It's there's just so many questions there. Um, but when you know that there is so much fraud, waste, and abuse, so much impersonating of individuals, trying to capitalize, trying to um, receive benefits with fraud, when you see who's who in all of this and their little criminal network, um, and it's based on so many lies, it's absolutely clear that Richard saw um, this criminal network definitely in action. And when you find out that his platoon leader was Dallas Hart, and that those that were tampering with Richard's investigation at the CID office there on Fort Bliss, and that the very people tampering with Richard's file was uh, Dallas Hart's mother and another family member, Tavita Nusa, the CID agent who lost his badge, right? When when you know all of this, and then um, you know that those that are harassing us, trying to deceive us, even more so, trying to direct the narrative, trying to direct our investigation along with the military investigation, and also framing a false narrative to give to the entire criminal um, judicial system and also the law enforcement agencies, to give them a false narrative, to send them a tampered with photograph of Richard so that any kind of facial recognition wouldn't work. It's like a joke. And they would do that to Interpol, and that they would access district courts, uh, county court, jail courts, computers, to snapshot the screen of a computer, which is totally illegal. When you know that they would do that of um, Richard's case and disseminate it on social media to um, for as part of the smear campaign against Richard, and it's a false one. It's a false smear campaign. Because then you find out that Nick Nofinger of the PAO office with Allie Payne, who changed her name now to Scott, Allie Payne Scott, whatever, because this is all about names and they love to change their names. Nick Nofinger, Brown Bell, he likes to change his names. They don't like their own identity, you see, because of their criminal activities. And when you see that the PAO, so public affairs officer, won't even mention that Richard was a distinguished graduate for training and for AIT, and he was promoted multiple times with waivers because he was doing so well, guidon bearer um, for his unit. When you're promoted with waivers, it's because you're promoted before everybody else, before the time, because you're doing so well. Why didn't they mention all of these things? They didn't. They wanted to a campaign to smear him, defame him, because what they were saying were lies. And I think it's very telling that they didn't mention Adal Baim, um, in the media. Why didn't they mention Adal Baim, the the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado of the G3 of the 32nd AgCom, says Richard's remains were found by the FBI in Mexico. That's a huge story. Why didn't they say that? Why didn't they say that? And then to say, and this was all exposed by the Team Farm Richard Halliday, the family of Richard Halliday, because the Army, the leadership of Richard Halliday, lied to the faces of the family to say he was just some guy, he was nobody important, and we should just go on. I mean, my goodness, um, that is a story and a half. And why didn't they report it? Why aren't they reporting it? Who's pulling the strings? Who's pulling the strings in El Paso? And why didn't Bill Hicks? Now there's this response with Dolores, who has been with this case not from the beginning, but for a couple of years now, and really interesting comments the other day about Yvonne Rosales, about Bill Hicks, and the response to the AG investigations, because um, we are in the wave of accountability. There are ongoing and active investigations going on right now. Why isn't that being reported? And we shared the Christina Sanchez's letter proving active and ongoing investigations going on right now. And the reason why we shared that letter um, uh, to the entire public is because that letter belongs to the people of El Paso, because it refers to um, including Richard's case, including the Walmart mass shooting case, Patrick Crucius. It includes thousands of people that their rights have been violated because they were brought before a court as a panel of judges that are illegal, that are appointed, should be elected. And we have, as Team Farm Richard Halliday has reported to multiple agencies, and including Christina Sanchez, um, that that is being investigated because it has teeth, y'all, and the teeth is called the Texas Constitution. Um, the codes and the sections of the Texas Constitution clearly requires that panel of judges must be elected because of the county-wide jurisdiction. So, um, to discover something like that, and know that Richard's case has been botched, and to discover something like that is so egregious, so criminal, and to discover that the chief medical examiner is illegal, to discover that, and then to discover that the DA who schemed, we have it in open records, that, listen to this, I have to make the case on these live streams to absolutely get the law enforcement to go and arrest Bill Hicks, right? I have to make this case. And people still will defend Bill Hicks. And the case that we're making is so sound because the open records that any of those people that still want to defend Bill Hicks, and I don't care what party you're in. See, this is the thing. They play each other by parties, right? They play each other by parties. And I don't care what party you belong to. When you have open records that prove that Bill Hicks schemed with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters and Justin Underwood to mess with an election, okay, to scheme to remove and replace a duly elected district attorney, why would anybody want to defend Bill Hicks and say it's so important to vote for him when he is so ready to ignore any kind of results of an election, to not respect the results of an election, to scheme to undo the results of an election? Why would anybody want to vote for him? Because what he's doing is he's voiding out elections, period. So he's silencing all your voices. So the very people that are looking the other way and will check his name off just because he has an R in front of it or something are really undoing their whole power as having the power to elect someone, the power of the vote. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's they're undoing their own selves. Bill Hicks is unfit to vote for. He's unfit for an office. He schemed and colluded to remove and replace a duly elected district attorney. Why? To play politics with cases. With what case? The Walmart mass shooting case, where 23 people were murdered, 23 were injured, and he wants to play politics with that. And he wants to play, let's hide Richard's case under some kind of carpet, right? Let's just hide his whole case, his whole investigation. Let's just ignore it. Let's just move on. If a soldier is murdered for reporting, we need to hide it. That's the game that he's been playing. That's the DA he's a usurper. He's not even he usurped that office. And people are trying to defend him? Are you kidding me? It's indefensible. And it goes to really this Bible study that I'm in right now, John Cassian, the conferences. And part of the Bible study is talking about King Saul and how King Saul disobeyed God over and over and over, right? Compromise, just like Ahab, compromise, and then said, oh, well, okay, God, but I'll sacrifice, tonight for you, right? In your name, and then that'll make up for all of my disobedience. That'll make up for all of my compromises. And but I don't have time to wait for the priest. I'll just do it myself. So his disobedience to God's will, God's way, God's command, God's law, that offers freedom to people, that offers power to people. You understand that God's law, it makes us sons of God. It's that powerful. It has that much freedom. It has that much power. It gives us that much wealth. It is such a huge blessing. And yet people will choose to compromise with the evil. And this is what's going on with Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks has disobeyed God, disobeyed God, disobeyed God, schemed and colluded and cheated, and um, now he wants to, oh, Governor Abbott on the district court because I can't win an election because I have such a bad record. I am unfit. He is unfit. And he wanted to play politics with the Walmart mass shooting. And he wanted to just ignore the absolute, outright, cold blooded, code red murder of a U.S. Army young soldier, volunteer soldier, that was calling out the. He is unfit. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of all of his violations. And God doesn't take kindly to all of these compromises, compromises, compromises. And then we go, oh, why are we suffering so much? Why do bad things happen? Because the denial of the blessings, the denial of the Texas Constitution, the compromising with evil over and over and over again. And thinking, oh, if I just vote with an R in front of it, it'll make me okay. Or if I vote with a D in front of it, it'll make me okay. I can just compromise. I'll go and sacrifice to the R or to the D, to the red, to the blue. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't compromise and then believe that you're going to have all the blessings of being law abiding. You can't compromise and think that that person that you have compromised with is going to change their spots. It doesn't work that way. And then all of a sudden feel like they have some loyalty to you and then become someone good. It doesn't work that way. And then, it just shows a rebellion against God. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I have too much for the future to work for. Too much respect for our soldiers. Too much respect for our military. Too much respect for our country. Too much respect for other people. I don't want 7-year-olds to be sexually assaulted in Leilani Hart's master bedroom by multiple members of her family and nobody do anything about it. Or household, whatever, however. And nobody do anything about it. I don't want a soldier to be retaliated against and murdered in cold blood by the order of his chain of command and then get away with it and it just be ignored, because that's what Bill Hicks did. I don't want multiple shooters to go into stores, into a mall, and start shooting off their guns, and 23 people are killed and 23 are hurt, and then 5 years go by and millions of dollars are sucked into the system and nothing happens because they're playing politics with it, and the victims can't even get justice. And that's Bill Hicks. He's in that seat right now. And to expect anything different from him, to expect anything different in the future is really nonsense. It's really insanity. And to say, oh, Montoya is going to be bad, or I don't know. I don't know. All of these, there's not one that's good. But the open records show that Bill Hicks is the one that schemed, that voided people's votes, that had no respect for the people and their votes. So the very people that are voting for him, that he's wanting, oh, vote for me, I'm such a good guy, which is all a lie. He's not a good guy. And I know that for sure. And as the parent of Richard, I can say anyone that wants me to say anything different, I can't. I have to tell the truth from the beginning of this whole thing. I have to tell the truth. And you have to do what you have to do. But absolutely, Bill Hicks is unfit. He's a usurper. He played politics with cases. He sucked the money of taxpayers. He doesn't respect the very people that he's asking for votes for right now. He doesn't respect the Texas Constitution. He doesn't respect the voters. He doesn't respect an election. And he doesn't respect life. It's all for the cash grab. Look at what they've done to Patrick Cruikshank. And you can say, what did, someone say recently, put him bury him underneath the jail. Like they don't even want to have a hearing. They don't respect you're innocent until proven guilty. And now, they say, well, he's been found guilty in the federal court. No, he made a plea deal for guilty. And and there was no mention from Joe Spencer that he had autism and a severe mental condition. No mention of that. The autism. Where was the uh was Joe Spencer at the time saying, my client has autism since he was 3 years old, banging his head on the sidewalk. Banging his head on the sidewalk, says his neighbors, reported in the paper. Where was that? And, all of these other testimonies of multiple shooters. And I am not saying that Patrick Cruikshank was innocent. I'm saying that there is a system that has to be followed, and it has not been followed. He hasn't even had a mental health evaluation, and yet we have millions and millions of dollars. So much money that Amy Snoddy doesn't even want to give us the numbers, the figures. They're robbing the people, playing politics with the case, because they can't even give a mental health evaluation. And we have all this other evidence that needs to come out. The brown tip, the green bullets, the shooters, all this stuff. The getaway car. And Richard knew some things about the Walmart mass shooting that connected it to. They don't just do a code murder all the time, right? And Richard's history, he must have known, he must have been exposing some very, very important details. It's kind of like what's going on with where, the Epstein little black book to be revealed. We want to know who parties with P. Um, it's like that. And then when you hear that the suspects are in the sex cult business, in the child porn, having that possession, having the legal criminal convicted criminal history that Leilani Hart has. And then Pablo is involved with that, and Hart Childcare is involved with that. And then you have these other businesses, and then you find out that Howell has conflicts of interest with this very same group that are the suspects in the murder of Richard, and he's supposed to be the lead investigator from Quantico? Are you kidding? And where's Bill Hicks in all of this? He can't identify crime. That's his job, to identify crime. He doesn't even want to identify voters. He wants to undo voters. So he doesn't want to identify, document, prosecute. He wants to play politics. And then he doesn't even want to identify voters and votes and elections. He wants to plot and scheme and collude to overturn an election, to harm people's lives. No, he's totally unfit, and I can't express it enough. And for Governor Abbott to even think about, I mean, he should tell Bill Hicks, look, Bill Hicks, we're coming to put you in handcuffs. That's what he should say. But for Bill Hicks to even think and be bold enough to think that Governor Abbott will appoint him to the district court, I think we have some work to do. And, I hope that our obedience, our fight for justice, our fight sends a loud message to Montoya, sends a loud message to Yvonne Rosales. Yvonne Rosales needs to come back. She's the rightful holdover district attorney. She should come back. And then she will be really under the radar, scrutinizing everything that she does. And hope, it's in there. Will know that they're under the watch of El Patrons. And where are they when it comes to this panel of imposter judges? They should be all over that, because not one of those imposters should even show up for work. And we've notified that jail office that, you can't take anything from them. You can't take anything from them, because everything they give you is not legitimate. There's no legal standing. And thank God, because it's a real blessing when you're under elected judges and not appointed judges. Because a lot of those that are appointed can't win an election. Bill Hicks looks like he won't be able to win an election. He wants appointments, preferably a recess appointment, right? no scrutiny at all. And yeah, I just can't give in to that. Um, that kind of thinking. We need the top of the barrel. We need the finest. We need the best. And the United States has the finest and the best. And that's who we need in the positions that we have. Not those that have um, have been compromised and we scrape off the bottom of the barrel, and then they can be easily manipulated by people that want some contract, that um, want the criminal trafficking to continue. So I think that's very important information, and there's a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes. Uh, so, just stay tuned. Um, and we will absolutely give you that breaking news um, as soon as we're able to. So God bless you. Thank you so much. And I'll be back tomorrow, God willing.